Why, hello there, I'm CyberX, and this is Outlandishly Crafted. Today, I'm a fighter pilot. Yes, I've gotten my own Apache looking helicopter in Minecraft, and I'm gonna show you how to fly it. I mean, I don't mean how to fly it, like this isn't flight school. I'm going to show you how to make it fly. So here we go. While we're on the ground, we're not flying. That would be silly, right? So we can change our views. We got a nice view here. We don't really have a good view here. That's something that you could work on. My thought process is you could do something like effect at self speed. I don't know what the max speed is, but like maybe try 5. See how it pushed us back? So you could do true. Oops, true. Let's try 15. 15 too much. Let's try 14. Let's try 1 and 15. There we go. So now, 15 pushes us back that far. 255 pushes us back that far. So you can kind of figure out what you want. It seems like there's a max, but that's still better than what it is, and it gives you the ability to see around you a lot better. It does mess up your in-cockpit view a little, I guess you could say. But you could just leave it at nothing and not use any. But I do like having some change in your view so that you get something out of it. So that's one little trick you can do to change your FOV, your field of view. Now you also could go the opposite way, and you could say slowness, and you could say 1,000 by 5, and then you could zoom it way in. So if you felt like you're not getting enough, you can also use this for camera effects. So it's a way to get camera effects. But if you wanted to get a little bit better in cockpit view, then you could do that and pull the field of view up. So let's go ahead and take off. We've got our view set. I'm going to go back to speed. Oh man, we're going to have to clear. We can't have them both. So we clear it out. We go back to speed. So there we go. So you can just see it a little better. So to take off, we jump. And we have horse jump. Right? And now you can see as we rotate, it's very responsive. There's a guide for this that I've already made that you can go check out to see how to make this happen. You can see forward and back is responsive. So that's cool. We can flip around to our in-cockpit view, and then we can push forward and start moving around. As we look, the helicopter goes with us and looks with us and moves with us. So we go down, and we could go straight down just like you'd expect a helicopter to do. We could look up, and we push up, we push up, we push up. And you can tweak the clamps on the animations if you want. You can try to make those different. You could clear it out and not add in the effects. You could add in slowness and push you up to the front so you feel like you're right up front in that cockpit. Whatever you want. I actually kind of like it better clear. That feels probably the best on this side. And then when you're in third person though, man, that propeller. There's some ways to get around that. When you take off, you just animate everything lower and then just have the seat be lower. So that's not a bad option. When you're in third person, it's not a bad idea though. And you can have this set up in the logic so that when you flip to first person, it applies one effect, and when you flip to third person, in first person, back and forth, whatever. You can do that with a BP, and a behavior pack animation controller will detect those changes and allow you to fire off effect commands. So you can see how responsive we are. We've got a really nice up, down, feels good. Right now I've got it that as you're flying, you're flying. If you take impact damage, it does damage to the helicopter. So you can hit the ground and blow up, or I don't know if you could hit a tree. Not really. Can you hit a building? Not really. But you can hit the ground at least. So there you go. So this is what we're doing today. Sorry, it's hard to not just have fun playing it. When you jump out, you see it has an inventory, which is cool. So you could put missiles and stuff in there. When you jump out, falls back down. It's back on the ground. You get in. You can move on the ground. So if you want to like taxi down a runway or whatever, same thing. So there you go. So let's jump out into the block bench side of it really quick. So you see we have an Apache, just set up how you'd expect. No big deal. We've got some animations. Really quick, I'll show you the secrets of this. This is so hard. It is so difficult. You know that move left, move right, move down, all of that stuff is mind-boggling hard. That all of that's done in these 3 clamps, math clamp queries. That's it. That's all it takes. I'll just let you think about that for a minute. How many planes that you've made that just fly straight, and how many BMX bikes and motorcycles and cars and dragons and things that you've seen fly around, and none of them tilt, none of them roll, none of them do anything other than just fly straight. And yet all it would take is for them to add 1 keyframe, 3 clamps, 3 queries. That's it. So there you go. That's the secret. There's an entire guide talking about that if you want to go check it out. So let's jump over to Bridge now. And in Bridge, this is Bridge version 1, but you can do this in JSON, you can do this in whatever. Let's talk about how we start the entity. We start the entity off by applying 2 of these sequences, two component groups on spawn. In those component groups, we have our adult Apache helicopter with our XP. If someone else kills us, some loot that it can drop, and an interact that doesn't do anything right now but swap out a bucket of milk. I must use a cow template for this. I don't know. But you could. That's how you would do your fuel. I think the thought for that would be you have a bucket and you could put fuel into the helicopter to fill it up. So the player control is set up with input ground control. There's a behavior that I have set pretty low for this, but it's not doing anything else. If this was an animal where you're fighting its behaviors, so say it's a pig and you want it to kind of fight the player some, then this works really well. If you want the player to always be in absolute control, then I would make the priority 0. Next, you have mount speed multiplier, so how fast does it move when you're in it versus when you're not in it. And then this is the secret to the flight control system. Flight control system is a timer. The timer set to a pretty fast pace on a loop, and it fires off an event. And we'll look at that event in a minute, but there's 2 things that are important. You don't want the helicopter to fly off unless it's not on the ground, so that's important, and there's someone in it riding, so someone's in the helicopter. Otherwise the helicopter will fly off on its own. So those are 2 important filters that you need to have. You don't want it to, that's why we have to jump before we take over flight control. That's really important. So you want to have that in there. So what is the timer? Every 0.4 of a second kicking off. We jump down here, and the timer every 0.4 of a second kicking off is a function and a message that just says if you're in a diag, if you have the diag tag, tell me what's going on. That's just for my own stuff. If you're leashed, don't fly, so don't fly off if you're leashed. Don't fly off if you're on the ground, so another check for on the ground, and another check for if there's a rider. So again, I did 2 double checks to make sure so that the thing doesn't fly off on its own. So there you go. Now we fire the function. Well, what is the function? The function is this nifty little thing right here, and you can get this off wiki.bedrock.dev. But really what we're doing is we're executing on the helicopter. So by name, we're executing first on player. So on the player that's nearby, we're asking it, where is the player looking? So this RXM and RX is just degrees. So we're just saying, if the player is looking straight ahead, then I want you, which is right around here, well, it's right around here, I want you to levitate some, so there's hover. If the player is looking straight-ish down, then I want you to slow fall and let the player drop. And this just took a lot of time to go through these numbers and to tweak out what feels good. But you just tweak these numbers based on what you want. If the entity's bigger or smaller, you might have to tweak them some. If you want the entity to go up faster, then you just make these numbers. It's just levitation, and they're just effects. So we're just applying an effect on the helicopter based on where we're looking. So if we look straight up, we want the helicopter to go up as fast as possible. So he applies levitation for 1 second at 6 strength. If we wanted to go up faster, then we'd apply it at 8 strength. If we want it to be more stable, then we apply it for a longer period but at a lower strength. So if I want to, this right here, 0 is straight ahead. So if you're looking straight ahead at the horizon and negative is up, so you look up just a little, then you're telling me you want to hover. So hover means apply 2 seconds of levitation at level 2. So it's just enough to keep you from losing, but enough that you're going to keep going up just a little so you feel comfortable. So kind of like a plane would fly. Now, if I start to look down below the horizon, I don't want to instantly drop, because a lot of times when you're flying, you want to see what's on the ground. The whole purpose of the game is to look what's below you. So there has to be some logic in that. If you're going to make a fighter jet game and the fighter jets are fighting at each other, then you probably want to tweak this just a little so that when you look below the horizon, you start going down below the horizon. But for especially a helicopter, or something where the player is typically looking at a 15 to 45 degree angle down, you don't want them to just start falling as soon as they're looking down. You want them to hover slowly, and the more they look down, they hover slowly, and then there's just kind of a sweet spot of right here for slow fall of, what is that, 5, 6, 7, so about 20 degrees, where in that 20 degrees you start to slow fall. So for 1 second by 3, if you're looking at this direction, then you're going to start slow falling. Now keep in mind, when we say 1 second, remember, we're firing off the timer at a 0.4. So that's faster than a second. So we say 1 second, but what it's doing is it's keeping you at that. Because when you have an effect and the effect is, say you have an effect and you apply it for 5 seconds and 2 seconds have ticked down, and you apply it for 5 seconds again, it just resets to 5 seconds. It doesn't set to 5, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't add. It just sets it back to what you said. So we say set to 1 second, set to 1 second, set to 1 second, 2.5 times in 1 second, so that it's responsive. And if you want more responsiveness, if you're doing a fighter jet, then you would lower the timer to 0.2. So it's going to ask you 5 times in a second what you want to do. And 5 times in a second, it's going to say, hey, do you want to go down? Do you want to go up? What do you want to do? And at some point, if you're looking straight down, it just clears the effect and you just are going to free fall. which is fine. That's what I like that. But then it's only a very small degree. So if you really want to go down fast, there's a spot where it's going to give you the ability to just drop. So this is the trick. So you're going to put this in. You're going to put all the degrees that the player's going to look, where the player's going to look, and then you're going to fire off a command. Now, you can use this logic for countless things because this gives you the ability to know where the player's looking degree wise. So I made a fishing mini game, and to cast you have to look up, all the way up, and then you have to look down to cast it, and then you look back up so that it sets the reel, and then when you catch the fish you have to look down and then pull up fast so that you're pulling the fish and hooking it. So you can, just with this logic, you can build out a whole bunch of interactive pieces between the player and now your code, because you can tell where the player's looking on the screen. That could even be something where instead of using look at, you could have an entity when the player looks at them, or it reacts. So you look at a door and the door automatically opens, or you look at a button, the button automatically fires. So that all comes from this logic, and that's all we're doing. So one more thing, if you don't want as many of these, so say you only want to have up and down, and you don't want to have it as smooth and reactive, you could have just two categories of slow fall and levitation, and then you just make these numbers include all the rest. So you'd go from 50 to minus 90 in one of these and just put one levitation. You don't need to have this many, but what I found is to make it fluid and smooth, you kind of need this many different places of the player to look at. So the logic of the player, where they look is telling you what they want to do, and so that's how many different areas as they're looking I feel like you need to make a smooth transition. So back to here, we've got a helicopter. You could use this for planes, dragons, bats, anything that you want to fly. I don't think there's very many things that you can't easily use this for. Again, we have jump on so that we can move around. It's very subtle how smooth it is, how easy it is. We're in the helicopter so we could interact with it to shoot missiles. All of those things could easily be added in so you could have it shoot fireballs or whatever. I don't think I put any of that in here. But those are all options that you can do. So once again, I am CyberAxe with Outlandishly Crafted. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. If you'd like to support me and help me out, please play and download my games on Marketplace, Dragonfire Bedrock Edition and Dragonfire Nations. If you have advanced questions or questions that aren't getting answered in comments, then jump over to the Bedrock Discord or the Bedrock Dev Discord, add-on Discord, or the Bridge Discord. Lots of help there. Don't wait. Get help now. And let me know what other guides you want in the down in the comments and stuff. I'm kind of running out of ideas. So let me know. Have a good afternoon.